Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
First, let me say hi, everybody. Tala here. I want to introduce you to my dear and wonderful, magical, powerful friend, Jay.
Oh,
It's true. He's fantastic. Even though he looks all prim and proper and conservative, look
I'm
more
not.
closely.
not.
Look at this. What? What is he doing? Jay and I had this idea for us to do some videos together. So we're kind of each other's co-host in this.
I think I'm the co-host. This is all the Tala show. We've definitely collaborated on a number of things over the years.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. And ceremony and all kinds of interesting celebration. But he knows so much of things that I don't.
Well, we're on very different paths, so we complement each other, though. We do.
Yes, yes. And that's another one of the reasons I wanted to do these videos. It's not just going to be about mineral minutes. I mean, I've put some of my sound healings up there for people that just can't get out to a sound healing, so you can do them at home.
I think you know when someone's doing something legit because it smells right, but also because it's affecting. And I think that's what I look for. I look for something that's affecting. Mostly because I'm judgy, but also because I like to. I don't want to play with stuff that's not real. I want to be able to dig into things that are real and that are not playing. You know, I'm doing this for real. I'm doing this. I've been a shaman now for quite a long time, and I know you've been a shaman for quite a long time, and I think that's kind of how we ended up meeting, and we compared some notes, and
yeah, we kind of saw each other in the crowd.
there's a lot that's different, but there's a lot that's the same.
Yeah, absolutely true. And we're still learning about each other, which is really fantastic. And one of the reasons why I wanted to do these videos is because there does happen to be a lot of misinformation out there is about having magical integrity or just having integrity. I want people to know that doing magical work or having a spiritual path, you don't have to be completely zen all the time to be a spiritual person.
I don't trust those people that act like they're zen all the time.
You know, I think they feel that they have to act that way. I mean, I'm not trying to throw shade on anybody, okay?
I will.
I love you. I want people to realize that this is accessible. This is, it's accessible to everyone if you're willing to put in the work. And it's accessible. It's accessible to everyone. It's about helping you deal with being in the 3D, being in this dimension. For me, sharing this work, this path that these videos are going to take, it has to be with somebody that has the same kind of integrity and has that same outlook.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that are focusing on the wrong stuff, but I think they'll get there. I'm not saying everybody, but there's... okay, for example, all right. A lot of people, when they start getting into magical works, me included, you included, first thing we try to do is a spell. Let's do a spell.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it scared me for a while. And I remember my very first witch teacher saying, I wish that people would realize that if they just do more spell work, they'll feel stronger at it. And I was like, that sounds even more scary. But I gave it a try, and it did work.
But you were also getting tutelage.
I was totally being taught. Yes, absolutely. I was doing the things that she recommended.
So tell me, so you told me a little bit, but tell me again about how you got into your spirituality, like from the very beginning. You said it started in college, but what brought you to even doing that?
I think it was Halloween, and I was in the library at school, and I was looking at things, and one of the things I found was one of those Time Life books about witches. Lori Cabot was in it, and she had a picture with her coven, and you could see like lightning surrounding them. And blue lightning. It was amazing. I decided I was going to see if I could get a contemporary book. So I went out and I bought, of all things, Silver Raven Wolves to ride
a silver broomstick.
To ride a silver broomstick.
Yeah.
And for a long time I was just a witch, and I have actually met Silver Raven Wolf, and she's a very, very nice woman, very knowledgeable. She came to the store that my then teacher was operating. It was called the Goddess Shop. Wendy, who was my teacher and the owner, unfortunately has passed now.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. But I remember, so I started reading that, and then I went online to a website called Celine's Wicca page, and I printed.
And this is when like online just started. You're saying
it was 94, no, okay. 96. It was 96.
Okay.
So I mean, we didn't. I mean, we had a computer in my house for doing homework, like for it, typing up reports.
Dial-up connection.
Yeah, it was a dial-up. It did that like scary cat. Yeah. I went online and I found this website and I printed out her moon ritual, and I went out at like 11 p.m. midnight on a Saturday night. It was the full moon in February, and I was at school in New Hampshire. So I'm out there digging a circle in the snow with this big, giant, broken tree branch. So I read the bit about the goddess, and okay, I'll just go on. And I read this bit about the horn god, and I had a presence come through. I had this insane kind of energy come through, and if it happened now, I would be like, oh, okay, this is working. Yeah. But I was scared, and I was all of 18 years old, and I ran away. I did, and the next day, I was like, okay, I'm reading the book. I shouldn't have done that. I went back down outside, and I uncast the circle, which, of course, had been ruined because I ran through it. I felt that presence say, okay, I'll come a little chiller this time. That was the start, and now it's been 24 years. And I transitioned, I don't know, like a third of the way through to shamanism because I feel that that's my path. Norse shamanism in particular, I work with Freya, who is the goddess of magic in my tradition, Norse paganism.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize that shamanism is actually found all over the world,
globally.
In almost every culture.
Absolutely, it's global.
Yeah, and I mean, they even had Druid shamanism.
Druidism is very close to shamanism. The word shaman, which we so associate actually with Native Americanism, is actually not a Native American word. It's a Siberian word from the Tungus, Siberia region, and the original word was saman, and it just got pulled and used long, and saman. Right. It takes a lot of focus. And now that I think about what my teacher said all those years ago, do practice, keep doing stuff until you have some facility with it. Don't just do. I mean, I'm not saying, oh my God, I had a bad day. Oh, I gotta go do that. That's a bad attitude to use if you're gonna do any kind of spell work or anything. Ground, center, get yourself right. Then you start adding things. And meditation also, for cleansing purposes, a shower will work for that.
Thank you. Yeah, I try to remember every day when I'm in the shower to just wash off stuff, and that's really good for people who are empaths too. And I just want to mention, like, kind of as a sideline, a lot of people are waking up right now, as I call it.
Yes, I see that. Yeah. I agree with you.
And all of a sudden they're like, I've been this my whole life, and now, oh my God, I'm like hearing voices, or I'm seeing stuff out of the corner of my eye, or I'm getting these messages, and I'm like, yep.
I do see people waking up, and I think part of the reason people are waking up is because there are more and more of us who are really able to do this on a certain level. There weren't before, and I think we're like zippers. We just pull people with us sometimes, and sometimes we pull people who are not prepared to do the work, and that's difficult because you want to help people, but then it becomes a draining situation of like, I want to, well, let me tell you about okay, no. You are responsible for your own energy. You're responsible for yourself. And that's pretty much the only thing you have any control over. And I think that's why these videos and other things like this are helpful, because you can't just walk into a spiritual path and be like, oh, I can do this now, and you can't. And let's be straight up. If I want to pick something up tomorrow, if Tala wants to pick something up tomorrow, we're not going to be any good at it either. Part of this process is a process. Taking the time to sit with these energies, and like tarot, you can probably learn to read tarot in a couple months, or even a couple of weeks. But the runes take much longer because they're an older energy. You can't I don't trust anyone that says that, oh, I've worked with the runes for like a couple of months now and I'm a legit. No, it took me 10 years to learn the runes. cards really well.
And you know what? Even with tarot, you're supposed to spend 3 days with each card.
Yeah.
And I tell people, don't necessarily read the book first on each card. Like, spend time with the card and see what it means to you, because
look at the colors,
look at what's in there, and kind of, you know, pull it apart and focus on what it is causing you to emote. What it's bringing to
what's
the
your
forefront.
reaction to
What's
this?
your reaction? What does it mean to you? Because guess what? When you're giving a reading to somebody, if you're bonding with your deck, that's what it's going to mean when it comes up for you. You're getting intrinsic knowledge when you do it, when you really do it the right way.
If we had a reader right here, and say they gave you a reading and gave me a reading, and we both had an identical card come up, that's not going to be the same for you. That energy isn't going to be the same. The meaning isn't going to be the same for you as it might be for me, and vice versa.
Right. So I know we're kind of all over the place today, but...
I mean, that's just me.
No, it isn't. It's both of us. It's totally both of us. And I think to wrap up what we were talking about with putting the work in, you get out of it what you put into it. So if you just grab stuff because you think you want to do a love spell, and you go home that night and just, you know, burn this candle or light this or, you know, whatever, place this here.
You're a sloppy witch.
You're a sloppy witch.
Or
a sloppy energy worker, or however.
Or practitioner. Whatever, yeah, shaman.
Okay, so more about how you got into this. So you went through in college, you tried some stuff on your own, you found someone
a teacher
that was doing, were they doing a year and a day kind of thing?
She did do a year and a day. Actually, she was a Dianic witch. Her process came down from Z Budapest. Even though we had a men's group, we were not working with any male energy. We were strictly working with different goddesses. And it was at that point, after my year and a day, that I started kind of transitioning into Celtic. And I was Celtic for a goodly bit. Then I went into shamanism. Let me burn some more. I'm gonna light the big one now. I have water right here. I always have water nearby. Usually it's a bottle of water. Spooky smoke. Do you know that time that you were doing your sound healing and you were like, light more sage? I went in and I did a Canaz rune, which is the rune of fire, and that thing smoked up the whole area. Sorry, Tala, I just went through a whole bag of sage on you. But it was so smoky. It was one of those situations where I was not clear on my intention, and I knew better. Well, I asked for fire so there would be smoke, and then it started to flame, and I blew it, and it just gobs of smoke came out. If you weren't there, just take our word for it. We made more smoke because we're smoky people. But
I'm saying, you know, you mentioned that rune,
the fire rune,
the fire rune. And look how
well, I didn't cast the fire rune.
No, I know, but you were talking about it while you were lighting it, and now
lots more smoke.
Yeah, I should just entitle this "Magickal Ramblings,"
Part 1 and
1.
7.
Part 1 and 7.
Yeah, nothing in the middle. What are you guys talking about? And then there's no ability to explain how we got from A to B because we don't know. Well, and it depends on who's there, because if Michael's there, we're probably talking about some sort of like spiritual technology, and if my brother's there, we're probably talking about building something, and you and I are like, they're both here, let's go somewhere else. Do you remember that Samhain when we were talking about not being on topic, but do you remember that Samhain where we like had like a huge bag of mugwort and we kept casting it into the fire, and the fire would be like, it's mugwort, let's just throw the mugwort on the fire. And there was like this peaty smoke around us. It was so insane. There were these figures just standing, and I remember thinking, wow, there's something in the woods, and I think I said something to you, and you guys were taking pictures, and the next day I start getting all these pictures of gigantic shadow forms, and I was like, that's pretty much what I saw.
Yeah.
And it's always interesting too when you've got people of very different paths as we are, because what happens is once we start experiencing the same things, we're actually able to verify each other's gnosis, which is great. Like, I remember one time you were knocking you had these 2 metal rods that were wrapped in leather, and you were banging them on each other, and I was like, what is going on? This is so shamanic. And you said to me, oh, they gave this to me. And I think that was probably the first time we ever talked about, we get things from these gods. We get things from these spirits, and in my tradition, they'd be called whites. That's Wights. It's like a spirit thing. It's just basically the Old Norse word for spirit. I'm really enjoying myself, and I didn't think I was going to enjoy myself quite this much.
Okay, it isn't that we don't have enough to talk about, it's that we have so much to talk about.
This is typical of our conversations.
Actually, right before we started this video, we were talking about Appalachia.
We're listening to an amazing podcast
Old
called
Gods
Old
of
Gods
the
of
Appalachia.
which is amazing. And Appalachian magic is very much its own.
Yeah, it feels older than the white people being there. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah, for sure.
It's like, this is the magic of the mountains.
Yeah.
And these people who ended up in the mountains tapped into it and they honor it. Talk about magical integrity. I mean,
you were talking about how, unless you're basically raised in this tradition, you have no access to it. And I had said, this is something I would be interested in learning, but there's only so much you can learn from books. You need to find someone that is like, has been initiated and also has the right to teach you things. They're not the same thing. But I do know that there's a woman that I think she lives in North Carolina. And her name is Byron Ballard, and she does write some...
Such an Appalachian name.
Very
really
Appalachian. She does write some articles for Witches and Pagans magazine, and I think she has a book out that I've been meaning to get. But if you find her articles in Witches and Pagans magazine, if you find some of her stuff online, she is incredible. First of all, she knows her stuff down. She just knows it. She lives it. Secondly, she's quick to tell people no, I can't talk about this, and that's actually something we were talking about, Tala and I, when we said that we were going to do these videos. Some things in my tradition I'm not able to talk about because it's a closed tradition, and it's not my place to talk about. And even if it was, I'm not going to, because it's not my place. And if you were to learn it, then you could know it, but that's the only way you would access it.
So, if nobody can talk about it, how do you learn about it?
Well,
I know the answer to this, but I think this is something
there's a couple of ways. First of all, you find a credible teacher that has been taught correctly.
And has the right to teach you.
Which is a different situation.
Yeah, it's a very different situation.
Or you learn it from the spirits direct.
Yep.
And there are spirits that are teaching stuff.
So you can accidentally do stuff.
You
when you're not
really
even
can
trying
accidentally
to.
do stuff, but that's why it's important to find someone that can train you correctly, or you're not going to be spirit taught by accident. If you get that hand that comes out and says you belong to us now, that's a whole other ball of wax. That's a whole other ball game.
But this topic is definitely for another time. Is how can all these deities exist? You know, from all these different things, from all these different cultures, right?
So that gets into polytheism,
right?
Part polytheism.
But we're not going to get into it now.
All right.
So that's just for later.
All right.
Jot it down somewhere. How can they all exist?
I'll remember.
But I think for me, because I don't even practice Native American shamanism, mine is
Peruvian, right?
Peruvian, yeah. But and I'll talk about how I got into all that.
I'd be interested to hear that.
Well, you know how.
I actually don't.
All right, so.
Seriously?
You know how.
I don't remember. Oh,
okay.
wait, yes, I do. Hold
do.
on, yes, I do.
Yeah, you
Holy
do.
shit, yes, I do.
Okay, so that will be probably a different video too.
That's a video we could go into shaman sickness. And
yeah.
Because there are two very different ways it can happen, which is madness and a physical death.
Yep.
Because you had the one and I had the other, so.
Yeah, but we'll talk about that another time. So, for me...
Something, spirituality.
that I need cosmic bonks on the head, and I really mean that.
Those now and again.
But for me, I need stuff to, like, show up in my face. But don't go looking for it, you know?
I agree, because if you go looking for it, you're going to find what you want and not what you need. When I walk people through, like, a meditation on finding it and connecting with a spirit animal or an animal spirit or just a spirit that they can connect with, I always tell them it's the one that you have the biggest reaction to. Not necessarily the biggest positive reaction to, but the strongest reaction is what you're looking for. So if you see a duck and you're like, I don't like that duck, and then you see a beautiful eagle, and you're like, wow, that eagle's beautiful. I wish that was my animal. It's not. It's the duck.
Yeah.
You need to explore why you don't like that duck. And
yeah, everybody wants to be like a
panther.
I can't believe, yeah.
Nobody wants to be a frog or a slug. Yeah. You can work with the energy of tomato while you're making pasta. Like, that's possible. You can have a relationship with tomato if you're growing tomato, and you're basically sacrificing to tomato by pouring out water. That's an offering. Mm-hmm. And, you know, positioning it so that the sun gets at it. That's an offering. And then you are reaping what you've sown. You have a relationship with that plant. You can have a relationship with the spirit of that plant. It can be a relationship that you can maintain by continuing to do those things.
Like when I'm cooking, I made us omelets for
amazing
lunch.
Omelets.
And I thank the food, and, you know, even though I didn't grow it, but I thank it, you know, and I meant to save one of the tops from the peppers to make that as an offering that I'm going to throw out for, you know.
You know, I try to make an effort to consume the energy along with the food.
Right.
And I find that makes a difference for my body, that I feel better. I'm not just loading in food. I'm like, I'm not aware of it as just fuel. It's something that I'm consuming with my energy body as well as my physical body. And I find that is balancing for me.
And sometimes when I'm doing, when I do individual healing sessions on people, information will usually come through at the end to give them kind of homework to do. And very often it has to do with certain types of food that they have to imbibe. And it's very often based on color or based on the energy of the food that they need to bring that into their body.
The first time I had a sound healing from you, you were still working with your former partner. Mm-hmm. And I came out, and she came out with me, and she said, you need to be working with sacred geometry and stuff, and I was like, I don't care about sacred geometry. I have no intention. I don't give a shit about this. I thought, I don't know about this. And then Tala came out, and she said, what kind of bread are you eating? You're not eating any white bread, are you? You need to be eating like dark bread, like pumpernickel and like good wheat bread. And I said, I am eating. She said, that's good. That's grounding. And I remember thinking, wow, this lady knows what she's talking about. And very soon thereafter, they weren't working together anymore, and Tala was working by herself. And
I'm very grateful to her. Yeah, we differed on
well, and I think she was still in that space, too. But I think too that, you know, I am not a person that works with sacred geometry or not anything that's like ethereal or up here, like nothing like that. I'm a pagan. I work with the earth. I work with the earth energy. I work with the 4 elements of earth, air, fire, and water. I do not work with the element of spirit because it is not in my tradition. I work with old earthed things. I work with ancient things, and that is counterintuitive to working with ascension and working with numerology. These are all things that take me out of my center, and I'm sure that they're very
useful for
I'm sure they're very useful for some people, and I'm sure that they could be a very powerful path for someone, but not for me.
Right.
And I think too, just because you might like something, again, it's what you react to the strongest that you're looking for. It's not what you want.
And that's about being honest with yourself too, you know, and that's about having integrity
and it's
for
taking
yourself.
ego out too, because I remember I worked with a student a long time ago who would be like, oh, I'm working with bear now. Oh, and the next time it was wolf. And oh, I'm really working with cougar and panther. And I said, come with me. And we went to Wadsworth Falls, and we stood at the top of the falls as you can. And I said, I want you to imagine that you're jumping out. You're landing in the water. And he's like, wow, I was an otter. And I said, yeah. An otter is a powerful energy to work with. They live in the water and in land. They breathe air. They're
very industrious.
They're very industrious. This is a powerful animal to work with. It's powerful energy too. But he was putting that aside because he wanted to work with more predator energy. And I don't understand why this predator energy is so desirable, because maybe it's like this tough, you know, thing.
I'm so powerful.
Also, I'm so powerful. And I wonder how much of it is just American, because There's something in this country that's very, oh yeah, I'm a wolf, I'm a panther, yeah. No,
And I'm
you're
like,
probably
no,
a
you're
fucking
not.
grasshopper. And by the way, grasshopper is a very powerful totem. I used to know someone whose totem was frog, and you know.
I was just gonna say frog. And
You know, the thing about frog is too, she would be very, she was very environmentally sensitive, and frogs are environmentally sensitive. If you see frogs or toads in an environment, you can bet that that environment is pretty healthy because they breathe through their skin and they die first. If there's any issue in the environment, any kind of toxicity, they go first.
Notice how fewer frogs there are in the world now.
Right.
You know, like I said, I have animals actually show up for me. And I remember I was going through, this is years ago, I was working at a really kind of toxic place, and I was just kind of feeling emotionally beat up. And I was getting home late one night, and I went to walk up my back stairs, and there was a slug. And it was like so in my face, like I couldn't avoid it. So I looked up slug.
Animal speak?
Yeah.
That was the primer for animal magic of any kind when I was coming up.
Yep.
And it still kind of is. Animal Speak by Ted Andrews. Yeah.
Yeah. And I looked up slug, and slug was all about, slug doesn't hold on to anything negative because of their, they say kind of glossy film, which is just a mucus trail. They leave everything in their trail. They don't let anything really hurt them, and they reflect the opalescence of the moonlight, this ability to just show the light back to people, you know, even though it's in a dark surrounding. It shifted my perspective so that I was able to go back in with a completely different mindset, and I changed it from a very slow, methodical, calm, slug-like, you know, attitude, and things just dissipated and went away.
Yeah.
So,
and that's a spell too. That kind of, you don't have to light candles or say spooky words or have smoke going. It's fun, but just changing your thought process and, okay, I'm going to act this way instead of this way can make all the difference. And that is a spell, in my opinion. In Irish magic and Celtic, that would be called a glamour.
wow. Okay, so I think we talked about.
We should probably actually have talk about something specific and not be.
We will. Okay, so we know we've been rambling a bit, but we just kind of wanted to give you a taste. These are some of the topics that we'll be covering. We know we've been rambling a lot, but we plan on covering these and a lot of other topics in our upcoming videos. We're going to be covering things like
how to smudge and clear properly and effectively.
Spiritual and personal integrity.
Energetic exchange.
So what's your path, and do you need just one?
Ancestors, working with your ancestors and honoring them, and also ancestry in general.
But we're also going to get into what Jay follows, what Jay's path is, and it is Norse Sather.
Sather, that's right.
Okay, you said that right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Norse Sather, and that should be really fascinating. That's right.
We're going to talk about polytheism, hard polytheism versus soft polytheism, and no jokes.
I could say something, but I won't. Maybe. Dealing with spirits. How to, when to.
Exploring intensity in spiritual work and also energy work. That's very important because intensity comes up, and sometimes we label it as something bad as opposed to just intense, and it's important to be able to know the difference.
Absolutely. So kind of fine-tuning yourself is the instrument. What our differences are spiritually, but also how they're very, very similar, and possibly how your differences are spiritually, but also how they may be very similar.
We're going to talk about the energy body and the parts of the soul in Norse cosmology and possibly parts of the soul in other cosmologies, such as Jungian.
Also, what is shamanism? A lot of people are throwing this word around lately, and I mean, these are just some of the topics that we're coming up with just off the top of our heads that we're going to be covering. I know we rambled a lot today about a lot of different things, but I think that was just kind of an intro. It's mostly me, right? It's mostly me.
It was me. It was all
no,
we all know it was me.
See? Integrity.
Wow,
Oh,
that's
no,
that's also called a backhanded compliment, ladies and gentlemen.
Different spiritual things. All of these things are coming up, or should be, in my opinion, should be things that we're discussing.
Well,
so,
we're already discussing that.
Yes,
we're just
exactly.
going to do so and
we're
put it
just
on
gonna
YouTube.
Do it for you guys. There's one thing I always say, you know the truth when you hear it. Kind of learn to tap into yourself and just say, if, that seems right, or, that seems like utter and total.
And there will be a test.
There will be a test. There's always a test.
Yeah, but it's not from us.
Exactly.
This is an informative video series. We're just trying to, get things out there.
Right on. And if you like us, please subscribe and hit the bell, and you will be notified where is it? Down there?
I think
Down
it's
there?
subscribe
Is it
and then...
Is it over there? Is it
and
over
then
there?
the bell, yeah.
Okay.
It's
All
like
right.
here and then here, if I'm not mistaken.
There,
So I've
it
just
there?
showed you, it's here and then here. Do your business, follow us, because we're hilarious.
It
Come on.
could be here or here.
It's all about this lady right here.
Oh, no. It so isn't.
Oh.
If it was, you wouldn't be on my couch.
Oh.
No, sir. Yay. Oh my God, you're so soft. Holy cow. You're so skinny. Anyway,
That will
so
not
if
be
you
a
like us,
topic.
that will not be a topic. But if you like us, please subscribe. If you have any questions, any spiritual questions, put it in the comments. We may be able to cover that for you. So feel free. Engage.
Yeah, you can also email us at whatarejandtaladoing@gmail.com.
No,
That's
sir,
not
true.
true.
But if you like us, subscribe and hit the bell, and you'll be notified when we come up with our next magical ramblings here.
Which will be one of these, probably how to smudge or rekin.
Yes, that would be probably
Cleanse
the first
properly.
one. But thank you so much for spending this time with us. We really appreciate you guys.
It's been a really fun 6 hours, really.
And that's just the intro. Thank you,
so
Jay.
much. Thank you, Tala.
so much for coming and doing
Absolutely,
this with
it's my
me.
pleasure.
And this is going to be a really fun endeavor. I'm so looking forward to this. I'm so glad. We've been talking about this for months.
We have been planning it.
Thank you so much for coming, though.
Thank you for
I really
having me.
appreciate this.
It's my pleasure.
I'm really looking forward to doing these talks with you and capturing it for everyone to see. So thank you guys for watching. That's Jay and Tala for now. Mwah. Until next time.